Alexander Isak and Nunez Wissa's transfer sagas could lead to sad day for football over player power, says Jamie Carragher. Mohamed Salah defends former teammates Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz after Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz comparison. Mohamed Salah calls out fan disrespect to former Liverpool forwards Nunez and Diaz. Now let's hear the details. Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Alexander Isak and Nunez Wissa secured deadline day moves to Liverpool and Newcastle respectively after a summer of strikes and social media statements. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace captain Marc Guéhi saw his Liverpool move fall through after behaving impeccably all summer. Jamie Carragher believes the Alexander Isak and Nunez Wissa transfer sagas could lead to a sad day for football in the future, after both strikers effectively went on strike in order to gain their moves. Isak and Wissa were two of the key players on a dramatic transfer deadline day. Isak sealed a British record £125 million move to Liverpool from Newcastle, while Brentford striker Wissa headed to St James Park in a deal worth up to £55 million. Both players were united in not featuring for their teams in pre-season or the opening 3 games of the Premier League, though Wissa did make himself available for training before his Brentford exit. Both Isak and Wissa also published explosive statements on social media calling for exits this summer. Another key player on Monday's final day of the window, however, was Marc Guéhi, whose £35 million deal to Liverpool collapsed after his club Crystal Palace pulled out of the deal. The England international behaved impeccably throughout the window, playing and training for Palace throughout, and Carragher was asked if Isak and Wissa being granted exits for worse behaviour is a worrying sign. Speaking to Sky Sports News, Carragher replied, "You look at Guéhi, who conducted himself fantastically well and still feels a fan favourite with the Palace supporters and the manager speaking highly of him as well. He will have to wait maybe until January now or next summer to get that move. Other players in this position in a year's time will look at how Isak and Wissa have gone about it and how that gives them a greater opportunity to get out, and that would be a sad day for football. Because I don't think it's been great how both players have conducted themselves. I have no issue with players wanting to leave a club, transfers happen and it's part and parcel of the game. It's understandable that those two players want to move on and play for bigger clubs to give them a better chance for their careers and to win more silverware, or maybe gain more money. But I can't help but think that if someone is putting thousands of pounds in your bank account every week, you should be training and playing. But would both those players have moved if that wasn't the case? We don't know. Both players have not got what they want, you have to move on for that. Let's see what happens for both players for Liverpool and Newcastle respectively." From his own experience of a Premier League dressing room, Carragher also feels that Isak and Wissa would have been welcomed back by their previous clubs with open arms if they had not secured their move, making their summer sagas even more troubling. "There were 2 or 3 incidents like that when I was a player at Liverpool," said Carragher. "Certainly so when I moved on and notably with Luis Suarez. But players are like supporters, they can forgive really quickly. When you play a game of football, you want the best players on the pitch. And if someone is giving you a greater chance of winning games or trophies, you get over it. If either of those players would have stayed at those clubs, Isak, Wissa or anyone else involved in transfers. It can change really quickly in the eyes of the supporters because as soon as they start scoring goals, everyone's celebrating, people are hugging and kissing them, and it's all forgotten." The signing of Isak took Liverpool's summer spending to a record £446 million, more than any team in a single Premier League window. And Carragher says it is now hard not to look past Liverpool being Premier League title favourites, especially seeing the Reds be the only team with a 100% record after 3 matches this term. When the champions go and spent around £400 million in the transfer market, it's hard not to make them favourites, Carragher said. The worrying thing for the opposition is that Liverpool have 9 points out of 9 and I wouldn't say in any of those 3 games, they haven't been at their best, or at least the team we saw last season. It will be interesting to see how long it takes to bed in the new players, the new system, a new way of doing things. If Liverpool are doing that and still getting results, that is a big worry for the rest. Isak a more important signing than Guéhi. Carragher also reacted to the news that Guéhi's transfer fell through, despite both Liverpool and Palace submitting the deal sheet to allow them extra time to complete the transfer on Monday night. Guéhi was given permission to undergo a London medical with Liverpool after the clubs agreed on the £35 million fee, but Palace's inability to find a replacement, after Brighton defender Igor Julio chose West Ham instead, was a critical factor. "They would be disappointed because they wanted the player and they didn't get him," said Carragher. "There was a lot of talk over the last couple of weeks saying Marc Guéhi was more important than bringing Isak in. I don't agree with that at all. Liverpool only had one centre-forward, they needed to buy a striker, there's no doubt about that, whether it was Isak or not. Liverpool have the numbers at centre-back. It's just a question of whether they have the quality. What Liverpool have had in the last year, and what they will have now until Christmas, is no real competition for the first-choice centre-back positions in Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk. They have two backup options in Joe Gomez and Giovanni Leone. So they definitely have four centre-backs, which is what most clubs want. In an emergency, I think Ryan Gravenberch can play there as well. Liverpool will just get to January and then try to resurrect the Guéhi deal. But what Guéhi would have done was have three centre-backs for two positions, create real competition, certainly for Konate. We understand there's a situation with Konate's contract and Van Dijk is getting older. So Liverpool did need a centre-back. But it wasn't as imperative as bringing in a striker, as Hugo Ekitike wouldn't have been able to lead the line on his own until Christmas. Mohamed Salah defends former teammates Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz after Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz comparison. Mohamed Salah defended former teammates Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz after they were seemingly unfavorably compared to new signings Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak. Together, the new players cost Liverpool £214 million in the summer transfer window. Liverpool forward Mohamed Salah has defended his former teammates after a fan's social media page claimed the Reds have produced the biggest upgrade in football history on two attacking stars. The X account implied that Liverpool had seriously upgraded on the attacking options of Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez by bringing in Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak for a combined £241 million. But Salah called for more respect for Diaz and Nunez, who delivered a Premier League title for Arne Slot's side. He quoted the Post and said, "How about we celebrate the great signings without disrespecting the PL champions?" Isak arrived at Liverpool late on deadline day after a transfer saga that had rumbled on throughout the summer. He cost the Reds £125 million, a British transfer record. He is currently with the Sweden squad ahead of their World Cup qualifiers. If he plays, it will be his first minutes of the season after he refused to feature for Newcastle in a bid to engineer an exit. Wirtz joined before the start of the season for £116 million and has started in each Premier League game so far. He was taken off late on with a knock against Arsenal on Super Sunday. Diaz left Liverpool for Bayern Munich earlier in the window for £65 million, with Wirtz seen as his replacement. Darwin Nunez moved to Saudi Arabian side Al Hilal, and Isak will now wear his vacated number 9 shirt. Between them, Diaz and Nunez made almost 300 appearances for Liverpool. Sky Sports pundit Jamie Carragher replied to Salah's quote on X with a red heart emoji, suggesting he agrees with the forward sentiments. Carragher believes the Isak and Isak Wissa transfer sagas could lead to a sad day for football in the future, after both strikers effectively went on strike in order to gain their moves. Speaking to Sky Sports News, Carragher said, "You look at Guéhi, who conducted himself fantastically well and still feels a fan favourite with the Palace supporters and the manager speaking highly of him as well. He will have to wait maybe until January now or next summer to get that move. Other players in this position in a year's time will look at how Isak and Wissa have gone about it and how that gives them a greater opportunity to get out, and that would be a sad day for football. Because I don't think it's been great how both players have conducted themselves. I have no issue with players wanting to leave a club, transfers happen and it's part and parcel of the game. It's understandable that those two players want to move on and play for bigger clubs to give them a better chance for their careers and to win more silverware, or maybe gain more money. But I can't help but think that if someone is putting thousands of pounds in your bank account every week, you should be training and playing. But would both those players have moved if that wasn't the case? We don't know. Both players have not got what they want, you have to move on for that. Let's see what happens for both players for Liverpool and Newcastle respectively. Mohamed Salah calls out fan disrespect to former Liverpool forwards Nunez and Diaz. Mohamed Salah calls out fan disrespect to former Liverpool forwards Nunez and Diaz. Winger responds to account with 500,000 followers. Post mocked two of Liverpool's outgoings this summer. Reuters. Wednesday, September 3, 2025, 14:00 BST. Share. The Liverpool forward Mohamed Salah called out a popular fan account on Wednesday for disrespecting former teammates Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez after a social media post mocked their departures from the club. Salah took exception to a post on X featuring images of the departed duo in black and white over new signings Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak with the caption, "Name a bigger upgrade in footballing history. How about we celebrate the great signings without disrespecting the PL champions?" Salah fired back, defending his fellow forwards who helped Liverpool win their 20th league title last season. The Anfield Edition account, which has more than 500,000 followers, quickly apologized. It wasn't the intention to disrespect, more to highlight the incredible transfers this summer. But we're sorry, it posted with a picture of Salah on a throne. The social media interaction comes after a summer of big money moves that saw the Colombian winger Diaz head to Bayern Munich for £65.5 million, while Nunez joined Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal for a reported £46 million. Liverpool then splashed the cash on replacements, signing Wirtz for £116 million with add-ons before smashing the British transfer record again to bring in Isak for £125 million. While Diaz made a significant contribution to Liverpool's title triumph with 13 goals and 7 assists from 36 games, Nunez struggled to make his mark, scoring only 5 times in 30 games. Though he remained popular at Anfield for his work rate, Nunez faced harsh mockery on social media for missed chances. Last month, Salah also took to social media to criticize UEFA's tribute to the late Suleiman Al Abeid, known as the Palestinian Pelé, after European football's governing body failed to reference the circumstances surrounding his death. "Can you tell us how he died, where, and why?" Salah wrote. According to Abeid's family and the Palestine Football Association, he was killed by an Israeli tank shell while queuing to collect food in Gaza.